All right, so this one is gonna be a little bit different because the title of it is called Building Resources. And I feel like oftentimes when it comes to building resources, we go to talk about social media, we go to talk about all this other stuff, we go to talk about this and that. I'm gonna hit on some of that stuff too. But before I go into anything pertaining to building, shout out to Zach. He plugged in, he driving. But I want to backtrack a little bit because there's some things that you need to know before you even step into the realm of building. And one is you got to realize that you're building a legitimate business. And I want this is going to be very engaging. So if you're building a legitimate business, what what is one attribute? What is one thing all businesses have? I'm looking for a specific answer. Matter of fact, this is what I'll do. Don't take this too far. You're one step ahead of me. You're one step ahead of me, Richard. But this is what I'm gonna do. Don't all say it at once, and don't take this too far. I'm gonna treat this like a class because I know it's gonna be kind of interactive. So what I'm gonna do is, if you have the answer, you can say it. Because I know sometimes there's a lag typing in the chat. You gotta type in all that. But I'm looking for something specific. What is one thing that all businesses have primarily? Before customers, before mission, all that. What is a business set out to do? What do they have? And it comes before customers. Structure, vision. I'm talking about before all, well, vision is kind of included, plan is kind of included, but I'm looking for one particular thing. We kind of lump them all together. Starts with a P and it starts with an S. Starts with a P and it starts with an S. All businesses have them, or else they wouldn't be a business. Not plan. Is okay. I can work with that. J Money Wealth, point of sales. I can work with that. But what I was looking for was products and services. Any business has a particular product or they have a particular service. And that's what I want to backtrack to. Because you can't start talking about business resources if you have a lot of people that are quote unquote going into business without having a complete comprehensive understanding of what they're getting themselves into. So if you're going to go into anything pertaining to building, you have to realize that you are opening a legitimate business. Some people take it more legitimately than others, but others that they just say they're opening a legitimate business. And what do all legitimate businesses have? They have products and services. So just like I Am Master Academy has products and services, when you open up your business, you are an extension of I Am Master Academy. And being an extension of I Am Master Academy, you have to realize that you have products and services as well that you are connected to. But before I go any further, I wanted to dive straight into the call, and I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Marquise Finch. I am a Platinum 1000 in the space. I've been in for about a year and a half, and when you hear me say best days, it's just something that I brought on that this business has, created or has allowed me to live in the best period of my life thus far. And the relationships, the people, the information, the understanding, the connections, and all of that has played a crucial part into my life. And I am indebted to this business. Because if it had not been for this information, man, shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Caleb, man. Hold up. Where's Caleb? Caleb, how you feeling, man? I just asked you
I'm all
earlier.
right.
Man, that's good to meet you, bro. I'm glad. I'm
You
glad you.
too.
I'm glad you were. What's the word I'm looking for? Hospitable too. Yeah. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to being new.
Appreciate it,
Welcome
man.
to Elevation Empire. Welcome to the Money Team. Welcome to the call because there are a lot of people that are in your position. They're new and they don't show up for the information. My apologies for being late for bringing the information, but I'm glad
Don't
that
worry
you're
about it,
here.
man.
And
I appreciate
I'm
it.
glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're plugged in, and I'm ready to see where it is that you're going.
Appreciate it.
All right, but but yeah, that's a little bit about me. Um, yeah, that's just a little bit about me. But going back to what I was saying, if you're gonna open up a legitimate business, you have to understand that all legitimate businesses have products and services, and you are an extension of those products and services. So therefore, you also have products and services. And another crucial thing that you need to recognize before stepping into anything pertaining to business is all CEOs. All CEOs do not look for any customers or any employees until they know that their product or service has a competitive edge in the market that will bring them money. What do I mean by that? Because that's kind of a lot. Let's unpack that real quick. So all CEOs, all prospective CEOs, because not all CEOs become ones that you know. All CEOs, what they do before they look for any type of employees, before they go out searching for customers, they have tested, tried their product, and they believe wholeheartedly that that product has a competitive edge in the market being the people, and that drive, that demand is going to bring them money. Now, how does that pertain to the world of network marketing? That means that the products and services that you are an extension of, you need to try and you need to see results from. You can believe all you want that people need this and people can make money from this. You can believe that all you want. But if you have not tried the product, if you have not made the product work for you, if you do not know the product, if you do not know the product back and forth, what business do you have? Like I said, it's going to be a little bit different. What business do you have if you do not know it front, back, left, to right, as far as the products and services are concerned? Because remember, we're opening up a legitimate business. And as far as this is all leading up to the biggest business resource. I'm leading up to this point, but before I get to that, I have to set the foundation of this call. And that's another thing we're going to go over. I have to set the foundation for this call, being that you have to realize what you're getting yourself into and realize what that entails. Yeah, now that we know where we're getting ourselves into, we need to know what that entails. What does that entail? That means I need to know the product. You don't just need to know the product, but you need to get results from the product so that your belief level can go up. You can believe all you want without ever touching the product. Hold up. All right. You can believe all you want without touching the product. But once you touch the product and you'll be able to see results from it, then that's when your confidence, your belief starts to go up in the product itself. And guess what? Guess what that does? That gives your product more of a competitive edge. Because why does that happen? Because you have more of a competitive edge. Because now you may believe more than the next person believes. Why is that important? You're gonna go out, you're gonna do more than the person next to you just because you believe more. What is that gonna do? That's gonna get more people to see what it is that you're doing. It may even get you a sale. We talk about the difference between you and me, the difference between me and somebody else is ultimately work ethic, is ultimately experience. But how do you get to that point? How do you get to that point? Through belief. That's the only way you get to that point. Because once you have belief, you can have faith. Once you have faith, you can then have confidence. Once you have confidence, is that much easier to sell you? Because ultimately, the biggest building resource is you, not social media. Because you have to have a you before you can have a social media. You are your biggest building resource. Not you right now, not you later, but you in the midst of the process. That is your biggest building resource. It's not you right now, it's not you in the future, but it's you in the midst of the process. That is your biggest business resource. Why is that? Because this business is a visual representation of your process. That's how you get people to join you. Drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever had somebody hit you up and they've told you specifically that they've been watching you for a while, and the only reason why they're interested now is because they've seen you so much. Drop a 1 in the chat. Why do you think that is? It's because your social media is a visual representation of your process. You have no process if you don't know who you are in the beginning. You can't get to the end where you don't define the beginning. So that's why I said you have to know who you are before you got to have a you before you can have a social media. And that is why you are your biggest business building resource. Dang, that's a tongue twister. You are your biggest business building resource. Because at the end of the day, if you do not make a single sale and you are able to sell yourself, you'll be able to sell anything. Doesn't matter what it is. So before I go into anything tactile as far as this business is concerned, we're going to talk about you for a second. We're going to talk about you because ultimately building this business is a deeper exploration of who you are at your core. This business is not about what you can get. A lot of people come into this business knowing that you can go get this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not about the stuff. It's not about what you can get. It's about who you can become. Like I said, your biggest resource building-wise is not your social media. It isn't anything that you can see, feel, or touch. That is not your biggest building resource. Your biggest building resource is you. Not you right now, not you later, but you in the midst of the process. Let me tighten this right quick. That's your biggest resource right now. So before you go to social media, before you go printing out business cards, stuff like that, you need to define your starting point. This goes back to what I was saying yesterday about discernment and awareness. You need to figure out who you are today so that you can figure out who you want to be tomorrow, and you can now get access to your biggest building resource, and that is the person you are in the midst of the process. Because in actuality, nobody, well, I'm not going to say nobody, but a minority only cares about who you are right now. 9 times out of 10 is close family and friends. A lot of people aren't going to care. They could care less about who you are in the future because it's not the present. Who they care about is the person that's in the midst of the process right now. Why do you think people why do you think people hit you up when they see that you've been consistent, when they see that you have a process? Is because of that fact. They're not attracted to who you are. They're not attracted to who you're going to become. That's a factor, but ultimately it's about who you are right now compared to where you were in the beginning and in retrospect of who you will become. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. The primary is who you are in the midst of the process. In comparison to who you were in the beginning, then it's where you're going. And you do not make that assessment for yourself. You already know where you're going. You can't force that on somebody else. But what somebody sees is the only thing that they can see, and that's reality. And I'm gonna break this down to you because I'm gonna get real spiritual with it right now. If you know me and you've been listening to some of the stuff that I've been saying, I say that if you really want to take this business to the next level, you have to realize who you are spiritually. Who are you spiritually? You are a supernatural being. You are not a natural being experiencing the supernatural. You are a supernatural being experiencing the natural. And when you're building this business, you have to, one, realize that for yourself and get more people to realize that for themselves. And how do you do that? You have to be a proper escape from reality. You have to develop yourself to the point where you can withstand somebody escaping reality into where you are. That's leadership. Now, the key factor in what I said right now was reality. And like I said, you cannot force your process onto somebody. They can only see what they can see. What can they see? Present reality. Now, present reality is constantly changing. What is the synonym for something that's constantly changing? In your perspective, your process. Your present reality yesterday is not your present reality from tomorrow. But the only difference between then and tomorrow is the process that you make today, which is what they can see. So if you're not putting that out there, your reality isn't changing. Think about it from their perspective. If you do not show up, ooh, what did I just do? Okay. If you do not show up every day and show people that you're different from yesterday, they cannot see your process, which is your business, which is your biggest building business, your biggest building resource. So if your biggest building resource is you and your process, which they can see only if you put it out. So let's recap. I talked about before we get into your biggest building resource, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. What are you getting yourself into? Legitimate business. Now, what does that entail? A legitimate business has products and services. Now, what does that entail? You have to produce fruit from the products and services, aka get results. Now, once you get results, what happens? You have to figure out you. You have to figure out who you are and what you stand for. No matter about what anybody else has to say about it, because ultimately it's none of their business. I'm talking about you. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm talking about you. You need to figure out who you are before you try to bring other people into this joint. Because it makes no sense to bring people into a place of uncertainty. They already live that. Everybody already lives in a place of uncertainty. They already live in a place of inconsistency. But once you figure out who you are, you can now define your beginning. Once you define your beginning, you can begin your process, which people can see. Once you begin your process and you show up for your process every single day as a legitimate businesswoman, a legitimate businessman should, then that's when people are going to start to look at you differently. That's when people are going to start hitting you up. See, a lot of people are headhunters. A lot of people are headhunters. You want to go out with the fishing rod. You want to go out with the fishing rod with the bait on the hook. But in reality, You're supposed to put the chum in the water and have a net. What's the difference? Marquise, what's the difference? When you have the bait on the hook and you go out, you cast, you got to find the right place for the fish. Not all the fish gonna bite. And you got to boom, boom, boom. You got to keep casting, and not everybody has the mental mindset to fish because it takes too long. But look, if you put chum in the water and you have a net, guess what happens? The fish are attracted to the chum in the water, and then you have the net, and then you have a collection of fish that it came into the vicinity of your net. All you got to do is lift it up, and boom, you got dinner. So it's not always about headhunting. It's about becoming the person worthy of somebody following you. How do you do that? Process, which is what people can see. See, a lot of people, they want to build the business in a way that other people can't see. Other people cannot see what we're doing right now. You may post it on your social media all you want to. You can post it on your social media all you want to, but people ultimately cannot see and understand what it is that we're doing right now on these Zoom calls. But what they do see is who you are today compared to who you are yesterday, opposed to who you said you're going to be tomorrow. And if that don't match up, you're not getting a sale. You got to think in the perspective of a prospect. If what you do today isn't different from yesterday, and it don't match up for who you're going to say you are going to be tomorrow, why would I sign up with you? Let's put it to you like that. Why would I sign up with you if you're not doing anything different today than what you were doing yesterday, and you say you're going to be this tomorrow? Going this route, it's going to take you the same amount of time as it would me working the job. See, this business is not about, doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going here, I'm going there. It's a matter of choices. This life is just, well, I'm not going to say the totality of life, but a majority of the decisions in life are business-based, is benefits-based. And what I mean by that is that most decisions you make in your day-to-day are either emotional or logistical, if that's the word. Emotional or logic-based. If you're making a logic-based decision, it's either black or white. There's no gray area. It's either this is gonna be better or this is gonna be worse. And when people look at their current reality, it's about if they could create a better current reality with you than they would by themselves. They can't make that decision if you don't give them the proper information to. And I don't mean the business. I don't mean the business. Because I'm gonna say this. You have to sell you before you sell the product. You have to sell yourself before you sell the product. I'm not saying like selling yourself, like giving yourself up. No, that's not what I mean. I says, if I want you to join my business, I have to show you why you should join me, which is an extension, or I'm at the forefront of my business. You got to get through me in order to get to my business. Does that make sense? Let me know some in the chat box. Drop a 5 if that makes sense. You got to get through me to get to my business. But a lot of people, they want to, I don't want to put this. They want to, dang, I lost my train of thought that quick. Lost my train of thought. But what I was saying was, you got to go through me to get to my business. That. So I have to sell me before I sell my product. Because you saw my process. You saw my progress. And my business is me. So if my business is me and you saw my progress, you got to go through me in order to get to it. And this was something that I fell into an umbrella too. I didn't think that I had to sell myself. Exactly. And this is something that I was kind of dealing with earlier too. I didn't think that I had to sell myself. I was knocking at the door as a salesman and not a friend. So when somebody knocks at your door and they're trying to sell you something, you really don't pay attention to what they're saying at all. You key phrase, you keyword, and then you listen to how much it's going to cost. That's not what I want. And that's even if you open the door. Some people they got no soliciting on their door. But others, you knock at the door and they see a friend, they're more likely and they're more inclined to listen to what you got to say in totality, so that they can make one out of two decisions: a logic-based decision or an emotional decision. And that's why a lot of people, they say you should make an emotional decision, because emotional decisions outweigh logic-based ones. People's logic can change, but their emotions can't. The source of their emotions can't. Excuse me. How they feel is how they feel. And if you're going to want to make a emotional decision, you have to have an emotional attachment. How do you create an emotional attachment? Through a relationship. The salesman doesn't have an emotional connection to the person they're trying to sell to until they create what is called rapport, which is a business cheat code for a relationship. But if you establish a relationship from the beginning, you have an emotional connection, which is going to trigger an emotional response, creating an emotional decision. So, your biggest business building resource is you? Dang, it's 148 already? Hey, that's crazy. Then you have to go through the whole phase of understanding who you are so you can define your beginning. Then you can start your process. You can start your progress, which people can see on your social media. Then it's about capturing that. How do you capture that? You build relationships. Building relationships creates emotional attachments. Emotional attachments trigger emotional responses. Not responses, decisions. So emotional attachments trigger emotional decisions. Now we can talk about the tactile stuff. We got to talk about you before we can talk about all that. Now, tactile stuff. What I mean by tactile just means stuff that you can use actively to build your business. Once you realize what we just talked about. One of which is your social media. The biggest is your social media. The biggest mundane thing you can use to build a business is social media. And I'm going to tell you why. Throughout, once you realize who you are and you define your beginning, what you also do is you create a message through because oftentimes when you start your process or in the midst of your process, you find your purpose. Once you find your purpose creates a message with you, which you then use to build your business. Now, on social media, it's all about one thing: how well you can deliver a message to a large sum of people. That's basically what social media is. That's how business social media is. It's how well you can deliver one message to a large sum of people. Well, the more people you get your message to, the more people can make a decision on said message. So once you get this message, you have to put it out everywhere consistently so that people know what the message is. Because, like I said, the more people that know, the more people can respond. Respond is not the best term, but they can make a decision whether they want to engage or not. And Dr. Spiller, he said it like this: building his business on social media or building his business in general is like you holding up a stop sign. And people are going to run the stop sign at first. But you can only run a stop sign so much. You can only run a stop sign so often before something happens, and at the next stop sign, you best believe they're gonna stop. That's what Dr. Spiller said. And I've been thinking about it ever since. I'm like, well, dang, like that's kind of true. Because if you run a stop sign, you either gonna get pulled over or you're gonna crash. And both of those scenarios are bad. I'm not gonna make light of it. But at the end of the day, at the next stop sign, they're gonna stop. And that stop sign is you building a business. People can overlook your business for so long before they're gonna need it, before it's gonna become an active solution for them. And that's another thing. The emotion, no, we talked about the emotional decision. Now let's talk about the logic decision. Like I said, the logic decision has no gray area. It's either it's better or it's worse. And here's what like people join this business logically when they realize that one, this is an active solution for them. And it's your job to show them why this is a better solution for them. And two, this has to be better than the solution that they already have. So think about it like this. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's say that I'm a carpenter. Let's say that I'm a carpenter in the old days. You got a hammer, you got some nails, and you hammering away. And it takes you forever to build that fence until somebody came along with a screw and a screwdriver. Now, guess what happens? At some point in time, I'm pretty sure somebody with a screw and a screwdriver or a drill, they were not the most popular. They had to build that presence until it became a better solution for more and more people. Now, when you go and you see somebody building a fence, nails aren't necessarily the best thing to use anymore. It takes too long and it doesn't last as long. So guess what? They got a screw and a drill and they drill it. It's faster and it lasts longer because it's a better solution. Until somebody took the original idea and made it better with the nail gun. So guess what? I'm pretty sure the guy with the nail gun that created it had to build that presence. And it became a better solution for more and more people. So the people that are using the screws, guess what happens? Some of them may have still use the screw. But a lot of people, you could get a fence done a lot faster than a screw with the nail gun. Now, the integrity of nails have increased, but they still don't last as long. However, one, there hasn't been anything better that was created. Two, the amount of time it takes to build a fence with a nail gun outweighs doing it again. So it's much easier to do it and it lasts you 5 years opposed to doing it with a screw, it lasts you 10. They'd be okay with redoing it after 5 years just because it takes so short of a time. That's why the nail gun is what people use now. And it's not because, it's just all this other different stuff that you could do. It's just because one was better than the other. And they made a logical decision. Do I want to use this and it lasts longer? Or do I want to use this and go faster? Because if I go faster, I can get more done in a day. The more I get done in a day, the quicker I can get a job done and the quicker I can move down to the next one. The faster I can do that, the more money that I make. And then guess what? You telling me that the more I'm moving faster and I got to come back again after 5 years, that's a dub for me. So when it comes to making a logical based decision, and it's not about what's out there. It is about what's out there. You just got to make sure that your product is better, and you have to portray that. So that's what I said. People either make one or two decisions, emotional or logic based. If you want somebody to stick, use an emotional decision, but you have to build the relationship. And guess what? You want a logic-based decision, it's easier to do, but you got to put the work in the beginning, showing that your product is better. And all of this is on the form of social media. Now, I'm not going to give a social media call. I'm not going to give a social media training, but that's the basis of it. If you want to put a message out and you want to reach as many people as possible, you're not just going to want to use one platform one time a week. You're going to want to use multiple platforms multiple times a week so that you get maximum amount of engagement on said message. The more people see your message, the more people can decide whether they want to entertain it or not. The more decisions you have, the more leads you have. The more leads you have, the more prospects you have. The more prospects you have, the more sales you get. If that makes sense, go ahead and drop a 5 in the chat box. Bet. But yeah, that's, to be honest with you, as far as business building resources is concerned, a laptop, a phone, and social media, and internet, you could do anything you want. I'm in a space of building myself, except what I'm building, this business is just a piece of it. And the bigger and the higher you want to build, the more that you have to build yourself. And the longer the process is going to take. But the criteria, the resources are still the same. I could go talking about, oh, I got this landing page on my social media, it was free. Oh, I got this, it was free. I got this, it was $5.99. This, it was $10.99. Oh, you can do this with that. You can do this. This is a way to be creative. I can do all of that. But I said this is going to be a little bit different. See, those resources, they're always going to be there. And if they're not, you can create it. But what you're building is going to be in vain if you don't build what really counts. What really counts is not anything anyone can see. It's what they can't see that really counts. I said this on my social media. Hold on. Pull it up. All right. Mm, what's that? Okay, I think this is it. Let me see. No, this is not it. Oh, I think that is. I think it's this one. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay, here it is. It says where a lot of people go wrong is that they tend to look at their lives from the outside in instead of from the inside out. Don't get so distracted that you lose focus on what really counts. On the outside, you may look crazy, but what really counts is the growth and the seed time you're experiencing on the inside. Picture this. There was a guy in the Bible named Peter. Jesus invited him to walk on water, and he did briefly. But because he looked at his circumstances from the outside in, he broke his focus and fell into the water. Excuse me. So the key point of all of this is that it doesn't matter how you look on the outside if you're growing, developing, and planting seeds within. Everything everyone sees outward first starts within. So don't break your focus worrying about something that will change. Naked you came, and naked you shall return. Our environment changes with time, and so do our bodies. But the price is found within. You too, Caleb. But I hope that made sense. I really do. Because everything that you build first starts with you. You have to build you before you can build anything that other people can see. And it starts with the foundation. The foundation is you. You are the foundation of your business. Anything else other than that is extra. Now, I did plan on doing like another call. It'll be a lot more spiritual, a lot more Bible based. That's why I don't want to do it on this forum. But there are some other fundamental principles that you have to understand when you're building. When you're yeah, when you're building. When you're building is when you're building, you want what you're building to last. I want what I'm building to last for generations. Not mine, not my not my children, not my children's children, not my children's children's children. I want what I want what I built to be talked about 100 years from now, 100 plus years from now. There are stories from men that are still being told from 2,000 years ago. That's the type of building I want to build. So with that being said, this one was a little bit different. Does anybody have any questions? I think you can unmute yourselves too. Hold on. Yeah, you can unmute yourselves. So if you have any questions, you can ask them now. I'll give you a minute. All right, no questions. No questions. All right, y'all have a good rest of your day. I know we have the 4 o'clock call, which is going to be with Robert. So what we just talked about social media, Mr. P2000, Mr. Rob the Banks is gonna do a social media call. Now, ain't that something? I didn't even know what call he was doing, but it's crazy how I led up to it. And then guess what? Tonight at 8, the power of productivity with P1000 Dominique. We have an amazing lineup for the rest of the day. So I hope that y'all be plugged in. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's day.